Win or lose, leadership takes the blame. Narrated by Sasha Maggio. Disclaimer. I may or may not get the pronunciation right for every person and location. Bear with me, I'm doing my best. Also, when I typed that, this slide design was suggested in PowerPoint, so guess what? I'm using it. We consider the Battle of Kasserine Pass to have ended on 24 February 1943. Although Kasserine Pass was just one of a series of battles rather than a single engagement, this time 80 years ago that battle had just come to a close. With the Battle of Sidi Bouzid kicking off the series on 14 February, by 24 February the Allies had taken some 10,000 casualties, of about 30,000 troops to begin with, and nearly two-thirds of those casualties were among the American troops. The German leadership was not exactly pleased with the results. Despite inflicting so many casualties on the Allies, Kesselring blamed Rommel for not capitalizing on the Americans' inadequate command and experience. So while Rommel was getting an earful, Eisenhower blamed Lieutenant General Fredendall for German troops continuously overrunning American positions through most of February 1943. As noted in earlier threads, Fredendall rarely visited the front lines once they were established. His headquarters was over 60 miles behind. Eisenhower relieved Fredendall of command after the losses at Kasserine Pass, but this was not career-ending, as Dr. Bill Nance noted in the 5th episode of the series podcast. And as Dr. Mark Calhoun noted in the 3rd episode of the podcast, the battle can be considered a costly victory, since the Axis commanders did not actually achieve their objectives, but at a high Allied cost, the substantial losses. This isn't the end of the fighting in Tunisia, however. As Dr. Bill Nance notes, what we tend to learn about World War II is the headliners. There is nearly a year between the attack on Pearl Harbor and Operation Torch, and from Torch, it's another 3.5 months until these February battles in Tunisia. And there are still 2.5 months of the North Africa campaign. And while the Allies did win in North Africa, they did not know for certain at this time 80 years ago that they will, or when. After all, the British had been fighting in North Africa for over 2 years before Operation Torch. And let's not forget that if the decision had been up to General George Marshall, the Americans would not be there at all. Lieutenant General Fredendall is not immediately relieved of command, but he is soon replaced by George Patton, who was seen as a bolder, more aggressive leader. One of the first things that Patton does is work to restore good order and discipline among the American forces. The 5th episode of the series podcast features U.S. Army veteran and Department of Military History at the Command and General Staff College, CGSC, Associate Professor Dr. Bill Nance, who talks with us about some of the important non-headliner events happening after Kasserine Pass. Thank you for joining me today. The references included in the Twitter thread presented here are linked below in the description. If you are a fan of this content, please consider subscribing to my accounts on any or all platforms, as that helps me know the content is worth the effort. Check out motheroftanks.com for details and links to all content, and don't forget the series podcast, which will feature many brilliant guests throughout the year. And stick around, this will be the best series yet.